I'm Troy Thompson. Over the last 15 years, our family has worked hard to create a place we call the center of the universe. A place where our kids and someday our grandkids can come home to and laugh, have fun, learn how to work, pray, worship God, and be a place to celebrate life with all our friends. After a quarter century in uniform, I put away one set of boots for another, working on our acreage, improving the land, fixing some structures, and building new ones. We say, give back to the community, be useful, keep your hands calloused, and spread the gospel. This is a little place in a little state right in the middle of flyover country, from which cries out a voice in the wilderness to all who might want to listen, learn, and laugh along with us. This is our American dream. Hello, friends and neighbors, and Happy New Year! Or should I say, Aloha! It's been a while since I was on. It's been a week. I took a week off with my family. We sojourned to the great state of Hawaii. I don't know how many times you're supposed to say the I. Probably twice. That's why there's two at the end of the state's name. Hawaii, a string of volcanic islands, 8 of them, I think, all in a row, sort of, in the middle of the Pacific. If you've never been to Hawaii, friends, and you think you're a master of geography like I thought I was, you might assume that Hawaii is just a few hundred miles off the coast of California. It is not. When you're flying from Iowa to Hawaii, or specifically, I guess, from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Honolulu, once you get to California, to the coast, you're halfway there. You're only halfway there. Hawaii is so far. It's so far out there. It's like 3,000 miles away from where I live, I think. It's way out there. I forgot. I had been to Hawaii in 1978. So pardon me for forgetting. I turned 50 since the last podcast, and so that's been exciting. Maybe my memory of when I was 4 and going with my family then to Hawaii has just slipped. I didn't realize that ridiculously long flight was ridiculously long. So I've been on ridiculously long flights before. I can think of some military flights that took quite a while to get where we were going. But when you're on vacation, and that's what we were, it's a long ride. And I tell you what, just out of sheer willpower, once I got on that plane from Minneapolis to Honolulu, I didn't stand up. I just sat there and sweat in my sweat. Yeah. And so we left early in the morning. I can't remember when we left. I think we left at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning is when our flight took off. And that means we arrived in Honolulu at about 3:30 in the afternoon, which doesn't seem, maybe it was 2:30. Doesn't seem like it is that long of a flight, but Hawaii is 4 hours behind us to the west. Whatever standard time they're on, it's like the end of the earth time. I can't believe Hawaii is a state. I mean, I'm glad that it's a state. It's a beautiful state. We're going to talk about Hawaii today. In case you're planning a trip to Hawaii, that's what I'm going to talk about. It's what's fresh on my mind. Just got back. I know that this is late for a Sunnyside of Life podcast in the later part of the day on a Monday, but you'll have to forgive me. We just got back, and I'm still a little messed up. As I record this, it's just Monday afternoon, but that seems like Monday morning when you're in Hawaii. I'm not trying to pretend like I went native because I didn't, but it does mess with you a little bit. Although I have to say it's a little easier coming back towards the east, particularly if you have to drive, because you're driving back home a couple of hours like we do from the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. It still feels like it's kind of like just the middle of the day when we got in. So, it's so far out there. It's an amazing, beautiful, wonderful, kind of wild, a lot more Wild West in some ways certainly that I remember from when I went there in 1978. And so it's just a wonderful place. I think every American should go and visit Hawaii if you can. and, and you'll find out just how far away it truly is. Because when you look at it, like most recently on the electoral maps from the election, it looks like Hawaii is just tucked right underneath California, because that's where they stick it. So it fits on the TV map. And Alaska is conveniently over there too somehow. But I've been to Alaska. I think Hawaii is farther away. It's just way out there. And anyway, I couldn't believe how far away. We have it for strategic purposes, and it's right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It is our western defense in the Pacific from all of the nefarious foes we may have in the future, or we have currently, or have had in the past. And so this is not a history lesson on Hawaii. There are better ways to get that than from me, and mine would only be scurrious anyway. But anyway, so it's clearly a strategic thing. And there are folks in Hawaii that still think that they shouldn't be part of the union because they're their own people, their own kind of culture, which they are, absolutely. But Hawaii is like America in so many ways. We learned that one of the events we went to was a luau on New Year's Eve. We went to I don't know if it's as traditional of a luau as you can go to because it's for tourists. So there were traditional Hawaiian dancers, male and female, at this luau, and there was a fantastic hostess, MC, who in her she had multiple outfits actually, and an older lady, and probably my age, maybe younger, to be honest, now that I think about it. But she got up there and she kind of gave the history of Hawaii and how they had sojourned in 30 days using their navigational techniques, using the stars and their amazingly crafted catamarans or canoes. I guess they're not catamarans. There's probably a name for them. I really wasn't paying attention too much, but it's the canoe with the one training wheel on the side, and there's a name for that. And they're all over Hawaii. It's a big thing. Really long, narrow canoes. My new friends in Hawaii that listen to the podcast now are going to be yelling at, I don't know what the name is. Let's just call it a canoe with a training wheel on the side. Anyway, because of that, they were able to navigate using their understanding of the stars and get to this place from Tahiti to Hawaii hundreds of years ago, and created their own culture. And then, of course, Captain Cook rolled around in the 19th century, and so on and so forth. Or maybe that was the 18th century. I didn't really get into it too much. I was enjoying it. As a guy who loves history, and a guy with even a history degree, I just didn't dig into it too much. I feel like most people probably have an idea, an understanding that Hawaii is its own culture, and it was a territory of the United States for a long time. And then, of course, Pearl Harbor happened on December 7th, 1941, and World War II started for the United States, and it wasn't a state yet. That happened in the 50s for Hawaii, and you can see why. I mean, it's right out there in the middle of the Pacific. It's just amazing. Beautiful. It's a beautiful island. Quite a diversity, actually, in its ecology, because there are some places that are very dry, and there are other places that are like, double canopy rainforest or more. No harmful animals, no predators of any sort on land. In the ocean, there's plenty of predators, but on land, no venomous snakes. I thought that there were no snakes in Hawaii. I didn't see any snakes, but apparently they do have some snakes, but they're not the poisonous kind, so that's good. It's just very safe, except unless you're going to go surfing, which we also did. When I say we, I mean everybody else but Heidi and I. We We just paid for it. We didn't go do it. But we watched them. We got some great footage of that. So now our kids have some experience surfing. And turns out that they were all able to get up on the surfboard and surf. But there are places in Hawaii that I can't believe that people surf. It's amazing. I mean, there's some crazy waves out there. Totally tubular, man. And there are a lot of people in Hawaii that surf. When the kids came off, when I say kids, my oldest turned 30 while we were there. Tate turned 30 years old. And so then it's 30 and 27, or will be 27, I guess. And then, 18, just about 19, and just about 16, in fact. Everybody's about having a birthday. We all have birthdays in the winter, except for Tanner. He's got one in the summer there. But anyway, I asked him, do you think that surfing should be an Olympic sport now that you've done it? And they all agreed wholeheartedly that it absolutely should be an Olympic sport, although Tanner was a little more specific and didn't think that it was a sport because he wasn't quite sure how it would be graded since you're not competing. There's no one trying to stop you from what you're doing. So in Tanner's mind, some sports really only have to involve a defense. And I appreciate where he's coming from. I like a good defense. But everybody agreed that, yeah, definitely the skills that are required to be successful as a surfer are real. And that's certainly not a culture that we're familiar with here in the Midwest because we just don't have those kind of waves anywhere that I'm aware of. So let me tell you a little bit about my trip, and we'll get on with the new year. 2025 is here. Boy, we left right after Christmas on the 26th, and then just took off. We headed up to Minneapolis, got on the plane, and I already talked about how long the flight was. And then I'm going to say right now, I don't quite understand why airlines don't load. Most airlines, we flew Delta. We like Delta. And Delta merged with Northwest Airlines, which I think in 1978, when I first went to Hawaii with my family, that was the plane. The airline that we took was Northwestern. And for those of you that are from the Midwest and remember Northwestern Airlines, then or Northwest or whatever it was, you might know that. But they merged with Delta in 2009 and went away. So we like Delta. They're in Minneapolis. We think they do a good job. But they don't load their planes from the back forward, which seems to be the right way to do it. I know that the less expensive seats are in the back of the plane. I've been in those seats, and you bounce around a little bit, and they're a little packed in there, tighter. But that's not how they load airplanes, is it? These jets get loaded by, well, first they always take the people that have special requirements, which on its face sounds like a good idea, a very humane thing to do, because you assume that those people are, wheelchair bound or walker bound or have some medical condition that is, prohibits them from getting on and off a plane easily. So it would make sense to have those folks go on first. But it also includes idiots that bring their pets. And I don't feel like that qualifies. I don't think that it qualifies for you to have your special treatment to get on the plane first because you brought your alleged emotional support animal, which clearly isn't anything more than just your pet. And I know that there are many veterans out there that have emotional support animals. I'm not talking about you, because veterans also can get on if you're active duty military, you can get on the plane right away too. Which sometimes I did when I was active duty, which my family didn't think was real cool. But guess what? You're all getting on the same plane anyway, so what's the difference? No, the people that get on the first are the first class people. And we don't do it very often, but we have flown first class before. Not to Hawaii. I mean, you can buy a car for what first class tickets cost to go to Hawaii with a family. So we didn't do that by any means. But we have done it in the past, and it is kind of, you're doing it because you have comfortable seating, and it is comfortable, and you get some extra get some extra stuff. But you're always but you sit there. You sit there, and we weren't in first class this trip, but I've been there before. And so now I'm one of those guys, just like everybody else, is walking right by all these first class people, and they're all looking at you like, why are you looking at me? Because you're sitting there. You had to get on first, ding dong. You've got the most comfortable seats in the plane, and you're on first. You're leaving the same time the people in the back of the plane are leaving. And wouldn't it be better if you got on last? Like you'd have a little more time to do whatever you do with yourself. And then let all the riffraff in the back get on first, so you don't have to look at them. I mean, we already know that if you're in first class, you don't want to deal with the riffraff. That's why they have the curtain there. The curtain is to protect you from the riffraff and the Comfort Plus people. So but they get on first, and I always thought that was dumb. And so it's fun to make fun of people in first class. We'd all like to be sitting in first class. Why aren't all the seats on a plane the same comfort level as first class? Well, they have to have a reason to really upcharge people, and I don't begrudge people for paying for first class tickets. Look, it's your money; you do what you want, and like I said, we have done it occasionally in the past when it was when we felt like it was the right price and well worth it, but we didn't do it this time. And I just think it's a weird deal that airlines load those special folks in first class first, and then all the riffraff with their COVID and their disease and their sweatpants and their open-toed shoes and their messy hair and their boogers have to walk by you and look at you as you look back at them and pretend like they don't exist. It's whatever. Anyway, so that's my opinion. I just thought it was odd, isn't it? Next time you go on an airplane, on a jet there, say hello. Offer to shake their hands. Don't harass the first class. They didn't come here to be harassed. And maybe it'll be like an Arlo Guthrie movement. If you do it enough, if enough people do that, if enough people, communicate, make eye contact, talk to the people that are in first class since they're waiting anyway. Hey, how are you? How's that chair? Is that champagne? Nice. What kind of jewelry is that? Say, where are you heading? Where are you staying? Maybe I'll stop by and visit you. If you do that enough, I think enough people will get uncomfortable. And they have enough sway with the airlines that they may just say, hey, why don't you load us last? And I think some airlines do that. I don't know. Maybe Southwest does. I don't even think Southwest has first class. That's a whole different story. Anyway, it takes a long flight. We get to Hawaii. We go to Honolulu. We're only in Honolulu for 2 days. And there are 8 islands in the chain of volcanic islands known as this great state of Hawaii. And we only saw 2 of them. So I can't give you any expert advice on places like Hawaii or the Big Island, which is actually called Hawaii and continues to grow at about an acre a year, which is amazing because they still have an active volcano. So the Big Island, as you look at it on the map, is not super populated. It has a lot of people on it, but I believe Hawaii overall is like 1.5 million people, so it's about half the size of the great state of Iowa. And we were on Oahu, which is where Honolulu is, and that is, of course, the capital of the state of Hawaii, and that is also where Pearl Harbor is located, which is primarily why we went there in the first place. So a little nod to my historical interests and designs, and we wanted to see it, and Heidi did the planning for all of this. My wife is secretly, her desire, I think, is to be a trip planner or maybe a travel agent. Remember when they had travel agents and how exciting that was and what a cool job that could be? You could be a travel agent, and now everybody just books on line with kayak or whatever they do. And so we do have a lady that helps us out with some of our bigger trips like that. And so she helps us kind of figure everything out and put things together into like a suggestion package that we can pick and choose from that really helps us out. She knows our family. So the travel agent thing still does exist, but now they're not working in an agency down the street in a shopping mall. They're kind of independent contractors out on their own, and what a cool thing that is. So we do have that, but Heidi put all this together with the help of that lady, and she sent us, and we got back, there was a nice little package. She sent us a little thank you for using her services, and she's done great for us many times in the past, so we like her. I've never met her, but we've been on some great trips, and that's great. So and Heidi is the one that she schedules all this. She organizes it, she researches it. It's like months in advance. And by the way, that's important, because if you're going to go to Hawaii and you think you're just going to roll on into a nice dinner at one of their restaurants, forget about it. You have to book those things a month, 2, 3 months out. Some of those places, and it's difficult. If you just want to get a spot in a hotel somewhere, you probably can, but all of it takes some planning, and Heidi does just a great job with that. So we're very thankful as a family that she does all the research, and she helps makes these decisions and coordinates stuff, and then she gets all excited for the last 3 or 4 months. She's like, hey, you want to see where we're going? You want to see the video of this, or we're going to do this when we go snorkeling, or this is the bay that we're going to be at, or whatever. And I just kind of wanted to experience it like a surprise. But she had done all this great work, and so she wanted to show us. And so I saw some of it in advance on YouTube, and most of these things anymore you can find on YouTube in any of these places that you're traveling. So we did kind of have an idea of what we were heading into. We got to Honolulu. We stayed at I think we got there in the early afternoon, but to us it was like 6 o'clock at night, and so we were very jet lagged. I would say that if you're coming from anywhere in the continental United States, you're going to be pretty jet lagged, I suppose, unless you're flying straight down from Alaska. But we were a little jet lagged. I'd say it took a day and a half to totally feel like everything was fine, and in the whole time in the back of your Midwestern brain, you're still kind of thinking, it's 4 hours later than we're experiencing right now. But besides that, we stayed at this place called Prince Waikiki. You can look it up. It's a beautiful place there. It's on the ocean and near Waikiki Beach in Honolulu. Honolulu is a great big city, and it has all the great big city amenities, and it's also got the great big city problems. Oahu is the most populous of the islands. A lot of military over there, Army, Navy, of course, and then there is, everybody else is there too. I think even Space Force is there for some reason. So there's all kinds of a military presence. We've got a local girl from around where we live here that would thus be local, and she's stationed out there in Hawaii. So we didn't see her or anything like that. I think she was actually back home on Christmas leave, but we experienced Oahu just from the urban perspective, and we didn't really see the rest of the island of Oahu at all. So we were really just there to fly in, stay the night, have dinner, and I think we ate at a place called Moku, some famous chef. Heidi knows all these things. Like there's a great chef. I don't know, his name is Moku. I don't know what his name is, but he's got a restaurant, and that's in Honolulu, probably many places. I don't know. He's got another one called Duke's. No. What does he own? He owns Merriman's in Maui. Yeah. So the same chef. They've got these places. And I thought Moku was great. It was kind of laid back. It's a nice restaurant. If you're in Honolulu, make reservations early and check out Moku. It's a good restaurant. We ate there that night. It was getting to us. It was like eating at 10:30 at night. The next morning we got up and we just kind of lounged around a bit. Didn't really do any pool. Like we did walk around, go check out some shopping. There's a shopping center in that immediate area. And so we did some walking around and checking things out. And we did go, of course, to Pearl Harbor, which was a great experience. I did go to Pearl Harbor as a kid. I do remember that, but vaguely. And that was, like 1978. But now as a 50-year-old man, fully capable of appreciating the historical significance of the USS Arizona Memorial and the story of the attacks on December 7th, 1941. I was able, as a true dad, to do my very best in sharing the stories that I could recall with great dramatic ability with my family. And you can imagine that my sons were enthralled. They couldn't get enough, or they couldn't get away from me fast enough. I'm not sure what was it. Thank God the lines were, you're on there. The Navy doesn't mess around. Get on the boat, sit down. We're not leaving until you're sitting down. And then they haul you out there. You got about 15 minutes to wander around quietly. The USS Arizona Memorial. And then you kind of whisper, you see all of the names of the sailors that died on that day on the USS Arizona. It was just an incredibly powerful attack, and it's a gravesite. So you have to, you ought to be respectful. Heidi was amazed at the amount of, there's just a little bit of oil that keeps, dripping upward, floating upward from the USS Arizona. And there's like 500,000 gallons of oil, fuel oil or whatever, is still in there. And they're not taking it out. Why would they? And so it still just kind of drips up, drop by drop. And they think that it'll be doing that for 500 years, quite a while. So they call it the tears of the USS Arizona, and you can see why. An amazing story. If you want to hear it, Mike Rowe is where I heard it. He's got a podcast a month or so ago, and they talked with the granddaughter of one of the survivors of Pearl Harbor that was on the USS Arizona. Lots of great stories there. She was pitching a book, and she was also responsible or kind of a, I forget what they call it, but she's like a matron, an honorable matron of the new USS Arizona, which is not a USS, but it's a SSL. I see, super submarine. Anyway, it's a submarine. And that is something that I encourage you to go listen to Mike Rowe's podcast. I found those stories very interesting, particularly the story about a fella named Joe George, who was a real big hero that day, and you can listen to that whole story as it was told. And then it is also told in the book, and then to some degree told online. But the way that they talked about it on the way I heard it with Mike Rowe, I felt like that was the best telling. I tried to do my part retelling it with the family. And they did find that interesting. Here's a heavyweight champion in the Navy who just won a big fight, knocked a Marine out. It was supposed to be the fight of the century. That was on Friday night. And then if there was one thing Joe George liked to do more than anything, more than fighting in the ring, was fighting outside the ring. Knocked him out pretty quick. In fact, too quick for most people. They preferred the fight to have gone on for several rounds. It did not. He just took care of that guy and moved on, and went out to the bars, had a good time with his buddies, and got in a big fight with the Marines who thought that the fight was too short. So he had lots of fighting to do there. And then he was arrested by the shore patrol, and he went to the brig, and then they were going to court-martial him. But for some reason, so he's in jail nursing his hangover, and then on Sunday morning they let him out, and he's walking back to his barracks. They don't say why they let him out, and then that's when the attack happened, and then he joined in, and he was actually part of another ship right next to it, which was there as a maintenance ship. The USS Arizona wasn't even really supposed to be in Pearl Harbor. It was supposed to be heading towards the Atlantic, and it needed some maintenance because it had an incident with the Oklahoma, and so that's why it was getting fixed. And these two ships were tied together, and they had to cut the ropes. And you can hear the rest of the story on Mike Rowe's podcast. I encourage you to do that. That's where I heard it. Thought about buying the book there in the gift store at Pearl Harbor, but I didn't because I realized, you can just get it on Amazon. And I should probably tell you what that book is, but I forget. And you know what? I'm just back from vacation, so it's a great. I should maybe tell you what that is. Hold on a second. Let me take a look here. Okay, I found it. It's All the Gallant Men, and it's the account of Donald Stratton and his granddaughter Nikki Stratton, was the one that was on with Mike Rowe, and that was episode 417 from December 3rd of last year. It's December 3rd, 2024. Nikki Stratton, all the Gallant Men. Go ahead and check that out. I like listening to Mike Rowe's I listen to podcasts too, and so that's one of the things that's one of them that I listen to. So anyway, we went and I'd say we have a great time at Pearl Harbor. It's not really the way to describe it, but it was definitely an experience worth having. And then they've got museums there. There's a submarine museum. We didn't go into that, but there are additional things that you can do there. Obviously, they have this great video presentation of how we got into the war, about December 7th, about the attack on Pearl Harbor, all of these different things. And so it's just great for the kids to experience that, to understand the sacrifices that Americans have made that were their age. There were I think the youngest person killed at Pearl Harbor was actually 16, that had lied and was there in the Navy, but certainly 17. So between, Jack, who's about 19, and Colin, who's going to be 16, and then, of course, the older boys, there's lots of stories. They're all heroes in my book. And, think when I was at Pearl Harbor in 1978, it had only been 37 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor had happened, and still fresh in the minds. And you think about that's Knox. He's happy to be out of the kennel and back with us now and part of the family again. But in our lifetime, we think about, or in many of our lifetimes, we think about September 11th, and that's already been, this year it'll be 24 years ago. So time just clicks on by, and sometimes it's hard to, fathom what that's all about when you talk about something that occurred, 70, 80 years ago, over 80 years ago now, in a place far away, 3,000 miles away from home. So glad we did that. And then we hung out and we did some more shopping. We walked around, checked things out in Honolulu, and then we were excited to get on the plane the next day and fly to Maui, which, unless you're going to take a ship, the only way to get around in the state of Hawaii is either by ship or by, I guess if you're going to swim, you're an amazing swimmer, but otherwise you're going by boat or one of those, canoes with a training wheel on the side. And that is what we did. We hopped on Hawaiian Air and we took off and landed in Maui in the afternoon. And then we got a rental cars, and we spent the rest of the time in Maui. And that was a great time. We love Maui. We love Maui. Oahu is fine. It's a great big city. If you like big cities and tropical places, you'll probably like Honolulu. But we are from Iowa, and we live on an acreage, and we like elbow room. And so Maui is the place for that to happen, and we think that that's the best island. Now, we didn't go to the other 6, so I can only tell you, and we didn't see that much of Oahu, so it's really not fair, but we had a great time in Maui, and if you go there, I definitely recommend. I don't think you can get a direct flight to Maui, but maybe you can, I suppose, from Los Angeles, but not from where we're at. So anyway, we were in Maui the rest of the time. We were there for over a week, which was wonderful. So I will say this, the big city problems, my last comment on Honolulu is they've also got a lot of homeless people. If you're going to be a homeless person, though, Hawaii is a great place. The ambient temperature, night or day, pretty darn good. It does rain just about every day here and there, and so there's that. But again, not a lot of predator animals, just predator people. And so I never really felt unsafe in Honolulu, but they've got a real homeless problem out there, like just about every Democrat-controlled state. So it's just rife with a lot of folks that are living in the park. And why not? If you're going to be homeless, Hawaii is a good choice. But we went to Maui, and a year and a half ago, if you recall, or just about a year and a half ago, in the news, on the west end of Maui, there's a town called Lahaina, and they had a small fire that started, and was, I think, started by a utility situation. Or was it? There's still discussions about that. And then they got that put out, but then the winds were so strong it started back up again. And the winds came down from the mountains and just pushed the fire into the bay and burned just so much destruction. The town is gone. There's parts of it that are still there, but it's gone. And when I say gone, I mean there's raised. Like now, it's been a year and a half, and so they've removed all the debris or most of the debris. Now what you've got is where little plots, little places where people's houses where businesses were, and it's nothing but it's just covered. You can see like the outline. A lot of them have the traditional Hawaiian volcanic rock walls, and it looks like an archaeological dig in a lot of ways, covered with gravel, and that's for erosion control. And they're slowly, and I mean ever so slowly, bureaucratically completing the. I guess they've got lots of, housing that's attempting to be rebuilt, but it's taking them forever to approve each and every one of those building requests. Part of that is so that developers don't swing in, buy out all of the traditional Hawaiian families that had lived there in the old. It was a whaling town, and then kind of a traditional sort of capital for that in that part of Hawaii anyway, or that island. And just an amazing. I never got to see it. What I saw was a lot of gravel covered plots of land, and so the building approvals haven't been going through. I think only about 10% of them have been approved, and they've got like 1,500 of them to go through or more. And they're trying to keep people from being. They want it to remain Hawaiian, and so they've got all kinds of. Almost homeowner association type zoning that they want to accomplish and make sure that it's done right. And I respect that. But it does really, so they're trying to do their due diligence and making sure that, Bill Gates isn't buying everything, in Lahaina. And so that is happening, and it's taken a long time. We did go to some places. There's still some businesses that are reopening, and there are some places on each end of Lahaina that weren't affected by the Lahaina. I never did quite figure out how I was supposed to say it, but I could see how it was amazing. It's just now there's just not much there anymore, and so that's very, very sad. You can buy T-shirts that say Lahaina Strong, and I tried to get one, but for whatever reason, they didn't have my size. I guess the extra large is a popular size of people who are interested in rebuilding Lahaina, because they had smalls and they had mediums. Small people aren't doing anything, and a lot of mediums, and so I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. I guess it's just the XLs that are out there taking care of the world, but didn't get one of those T-shirts. And then at the end of the day, I wasn't quite sure, how that would roll anyway. Is that cultural appropriation? I'm not from there, but I do support their regrowth, and I hope that they rebuild, and that folks who are displaced, lots of people displaced. They've got FEMA housing there, and it's just a sad deal. Anyway, you got to drive through that part of it. Like most islands, there's not roads all over the place like there are here in Iowa, and so you're pretty much on the road. And to go from the airport to where we were, which was what's called Western Hawaii, Western Maui in Hawaii, and stayed at a great place. It was wonderful. We just had a great time. We had it was Heidi and I and the four boys and daughter-in-law Miranda and Tanner's very serious girlfriend Kate. And so it was a group of 8 of us, and we just had it's just a condo that you rent at this beautiful resort, and it was wonderful. It truly was. What's the name of the resort? Well, it's the Montage, and that's a chain. They're in a variety of places, so if you are interested in that, you can check out the Montage. We thought they were great. They was incredibly friendly staff, and take this however you want. My Honolulu is very Asian. it reminded me of being in Seoul, South Korea, when I was stationed in Korea. And a lot of, Koreans and Japanese and Chinese. And if you're going to get an Uber or a Lyft, there's a very good possibility that their English is not their first language, just like really anywhere else in big city America. And so strong Asian influence in Honolulu. Not so much in Maui, still there, Polynesian, of course, and then but just from everywhere. Hawaii has this culture they're very proud of that's 800 or 1,000 years old when they floated up here from Tahiti, but they are immigrants too, and then they've founded there wasn't anybody here, so they the Tahitian immigrants created this thing, which is now Hawaii as a state, but Hawaii has always been taking on visitors. So a lot of the people that live and work in Hawaii are from all over the place in the United States, and you'll see that as well. Very diverse state in many, many ways. In fact, I think it's the only state that isn't majority white, Caucasian. So it's very, very diverse, and you'll see people there from every state in the union working, or people that went there on vacation and decided that they were going to come back and live there, or maybe they never left. And I can see why. It's beautiful, beautiful weather for sure. Some of the things that you can do when you're in Maui, and I will say this though about Honolulu. We did take look. I know I'm 50 and I live in a rural area, so I have the Lyft app on my phone. I don't know why I have Lyft instead of Uber. I just do. Turns out a lot of those drivers drive for both, so they respond to both apps. I thought that the Lyft people got there faster than the Uber people because we did have to take two different cars, so we could kind of, see how that went. But despite most of the time, like no conversation because I don't speak Chinese or whatever, there would just be hello and goodbye, thank you, and that was it. And that was kind of what we were expecting. And the last night that we were in Honolulu, Tate and Miranda and Tanner and Kate, they got in one, and there seemed like they would get out before us for somehow, even if we ordered at the same time. I don't quite get that. They must be. Maybe they use the app more. I don't know. Does that make a difference if you use the app? Maybe you have a better rating than Heidi and I, who are like old people, and we don't use the app. I don't know. But anyways, we were waiting around, and this guy shows up, and it's a van, and the van, it's a minivan, and the license plate, Hawaiian license plate, says VANDL, like Vandal. And I was like, what's this going to be? And he gets out, and this guy is an older gentleman, and he opens up the door for you like they do, and he moves the bongo set back. And I was like, what is this? Is bongos in here? Like, we're just like, is this guy in a church band, and this is his other job or whatever? And so Colin and Jack get in, and we get into this minivan, and then he has this iPad, and it's karaoke, and he's got a little disco ball, and he like slaps it with Velcro up on the ceiling, and then he selects the song for you and hands you a microphone, and it's set up in there pretty well, and you just hop in not expecting this. We didn't know this is what we were getting, but I sang a little Bon Jovi, a little Eye of the Tiger, and then we were at our hotel, the Prince Waikiki. If you are in Honolulu and you have the opportunity to get the Vandal as an Uber or Lyft, probably both, that is awesome, because the bellhops at the Prince Waikiki, they knew that this dude was there, and they're like, oh, here, because like the little disco ball is going and the sound is, I'm wailing my heart out to Survivor, and my family is laughing, and Heidi is recording it, and it won't be on our channel, I can tell you that, because I don't think it was a little pitchy when I watched it later. I was like, it wasn't quite, but for not expecting it, I feel like I did a pretty good job. Also, those songs are for men that sing at a higher octave than I do. They're called tenors, and every bass wishes he could sing as high and get all of the leads that a tenor gets, and every tenor deep in their heart truly wishes that they had a manly voice. So it's just that back and forth thing. And I was struggling as a baritone to bass baritone, I guess, to hit those high notes. But it was fun. So check out the Vandal if you happen to get an Uber or a Lyft in Honolulu. I wish you luck, and keep those vocal cords warm, because that's a good thing. But we didn't use any of the Uber or Lyfts in Maui, because we got rented a couple of vehicles so we could get around with our big group, and headed up over to the west side and saw Lahaina, and then got to our beautiful place at the Montage and just kind of relaxed. And Kate actually came in much later that night, and so we had gone out to eat, and that was a place called Merriman's. It was also owned by the guy who owns Moku in Honolulu, and Merriman's is a very, very nice restaurant. When we were in Honolulu, we also had a place called Duke's, and everybody liked Duke's. So Duke's Honolulu, that's a good restaurant too. So you can, and that's not hard to get into. I don't think we did not have reservations for that. We just went. I don't think we had reservations for that. That one we did get into. So I might as well get rid of the rest of the food here so we can talk about that. We did on the last day, we went to Mama's Fish House, which is kind of on the east side of Maui, and that was amazing. That was delicious. Been there since the 70s. Just beautiful interior. It's kind of on the east side or the north end or whatever they call it, but like big waves over there. Big waves. And people do surf them. Great food, great atmosphere. Mama's Fish House. But if you think if you're going to just swing in to Mama's, that one might be a couple months booked out. So you want to make sure that you think ahead on that one. And then I'm trying to think if we ate anywhere. We did have pizza one night, and that was New Year's Day that we had pizza. And I'll tell you, I could recommend Dolly's Pub and Pizza if you're on the west side of Maui. Maui is, by the way, the size is like a couple of counties in Iowa. So not huge as an island, but it feels huge because, something that is 5 miles away takes you 15, 20 minutes to get to. And when I get to the other side of the island, like say via the road to Hana, it's going to take you all day. Twisty roads and very, very hairpin corners. Talk a little bit more about the road to Hana in a second. But pizza at Dolly's Pub and Pizza, picked that up. That was just a long day of hanging out in the pool. The boys went golfing. Right next to them, there's two golf courses together on the west side of Maui, and that's where the Century was being held. So they were right next to that one. They were golfing on the other 18-holer, and so the Century was happening about the same time. And so that was I didn't see anybody, and I wouldn't know anyway, unless it was Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods. I wouldn't know. If you're a professional golfer. Is that a sport, Tanner? I'm not sure. Where's the defense? And so that was good. I could recommend if you're looking for pizza on that Dolly's Pub and Pizza on the west side there. Anyway, we did take a trip to. So there's a town called Hana, and it's on the end. East end, southeast, I don't know, directions. And to get there, you can take truly the road to Hana, which kind of starts in the middle of Maui, and then it just winds around like ridiculous. It's like 50 or 60 hairpin turns. You're probably never going over 30 miles an hour because it's very precarious. You're right there on the side of a mountain. You're overlooking some beautiful scenery, whether you see the ocean or you're looking into deep valleys, rainforest, whatever it happens to be. Lots of places to stop along the way. The waterfalls that you can stop at. And we did stop at a waterfall on our way back because there were too many people. They've created a problem with this 2-lane road, very narrow 2-lane road. That is how you get there. So if you're driving, it doesn't matter if you're a tourist or you're on a moped, you're in a car, or you're driving a flatbed truck delivering lumber to Hana, they're all on the same road, and you've got to make way for each other. And so it's well paved and all of that. It's just not wide. And they've kind of created this tourism problem. Like, they want the tourists there. I think that's like the number one thing for Hawaii, or one of the top three things, is the tourism trade. And yet, to get to Hana, you have only this one way to get there. Apparently, there is a back way to Hana, but it's like gravel roads and even more difficult, or not. I don't know. But we took the road to Hana. And so that is truly the road to Hana. You pass everything, and it's not real heavy traffic, but it's just slow, and you can't see who's coming around the corner sometimes. You got to be careful. We hired that, so we had drivers for that for us. For our group split up into two, and Jack and Heidi and I went in one car with a guy named Adam. He did a great job. He's not usually the one that does the talking, so it was more like we would ask him questions and he would tell us the answers that he knew or had heard his girlfriend talk about. And she was usually the one, Shannon is her name, she was usually the one that would do the talking, and neither one of these two regularly, from what I understand, drove the road to Hana, but it was the holidays and everybody was booked, and so they took us on, and they did a great job. So we got to see this road and experience it. It took like 4 hours to get to Hana. And that means it takes 4 hours to get back. And then you stop and do different things in the middle. So it's like an all-day deal, 10, 11 hours that you're involved with this road to Hana trip. So it's a one-time thing. I'm never going to live in Hana. And so I've done it, and I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to, if you get car sick, to probably take some, Dramamine the night before and the morning of. That would probably help you. Jack has a tendency to get a little car sick, so he rode in the front seat with Heidi, and I rode in the back, and Adam did a great job for us, and the rest of the group rode with Shannon, and she was driving like a Suburban, so we were driving a car. We felt like we could get through things a little easier. When you get to the end, when you actually get to Hana, they have there's things to do there. Mostly what we did is we just ate at Uncle Russell's Huli Huli Chicken, which has been on TV. Who's that British guy? Can't think of his name right now. The real angry chef. Yeah. Anyway, he was there. It is great. He wasn't there while we were there, but he had done an episode. And I tell you what, it was great. It was great chicken and ribs, and it was big portions. And then after we ate and got really full, then what we did is we tested the theory about whether or not you actually cramp up when you go swimming within 30 minutes, because we immediately went over to the red sand beach right next to it. It's just a stand on the roadside. It's a parking lot and a stand on the roadside, and a lot of people in line to have Huli Huli chicken. And so we did that, and then we went and hit the beach, the red sand beach, and the red cliffs from the red lava back in the day, and went into the water, and it's kind of aggressive, I'll say. The undertow was a little bit something, and it kind of pulls you out, and then pushes you over into rocks. So you kind of got to be swimming. You can walk out a ways, but then if you get too far out, it's a Tate, who's the oldest boy, and big strong dude there. He got a little bit further out than he should have, and he swam back, and it felt like he was going nowhere. So he said that that was a little scary. So it's no joke. The ocean is beautiful. The beaches are amazing. Some of them are fairly rocky. You can have big waves. Hawaii is an amazing place, but I wouldn't go swimming alone in Hawaii if you're a Midwesterner or maybe from the mainland in general. But we had a great time there. We didn't cramp up, so that's a bunch of hooey. You can eat as much as you want, get right in the water, swim really hard to save your life, and you're not going to cramp up. We didn't. And then we left and we headed back, and that took forever because it's the same way back, and you're seeing the same stuff, but from a different window maybe. And that time we did get to stop at the one of the waterfalls, and there was room for us to park, and so we went in, and everybody, it was peaceful, it was tranquil. There's lots of people around, and everybody's taking pictures, and it's this amazing thing. And there's lots of signs, and the signs say, "Do not jump from the cliffs," because you could get injured or die. And the Thompson Ohana is the word for family in Hawaiian, apparently. And so the Thompson Ohana arrived on the scene like a bunch of hooligans, paid no attention to the signs whatsoever, climbed up to the top of the cliffs, and jumped right off into the waters below. And we all made it. Heidi did not jump off the cliff. Sometimes she gets a little worried about heights. I did it. It was fine. It was fun. It was thrilling. I did it once. I think the kids all did it twice. And that started this whole thing. I'm sure there were people jumping off the cliffs earlier. You could see that there was a trail. Clearly, we weren't the first people to ever do it, but we were the first people that were, when we got there, nobody else was doing it. Everybody was dry, and they were taking pictures, and then we started a whole thing, and then people are jumping off the cliffs, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and then we left. We got the heck out of there. Didn't use the rest area there because it was really gross. And then off we went. Continued on the road to Hana. Eventually, I'm trying to think if there's anything. There's lots of things we talked about, but check that out because we did that. This is in no way the order. One night we did a sunset cruise on a catamaran. They fed us. We had drinks. We looked at the sun. We looked right into the sun, just directly into it as it set, and then it was night, or at least we couldn't see anymore anyway. So it was that. That was fun. We took another boat at another time, and we went on a little snorkeling cruise. Did some snorkeling, and I had my chance to do a GoPro underwater. What are you talking about? Do a little GoPro. I'd never done that before, so I don't know how good that is. Well, I've seen the footage. It's not as Jacques Cousteau as I was hoping. Let me just say that. And so you see a lot of our group floating around. I personally didn't see any turtles while I was GoProing, but other people did. We went snorkeling on another occasion. There was a beach next to the Montage, and it's great snorkeling there. And look, my brother loves scuba diving, and he probably likes snorkeling, looking underwater. And I don't mind it. I'm not a bad swimmer. I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. Snorkeling, I was like, let's leave the mysteries of what's underwater to the fish. So I have lots of footage of fish and things crawling around, and it was really beautiful. And but I get tired of snorkeling fairly quick. Some people can do it. Heidi likes snorkeling. The kids like snorkeling around, and we snorkel all about the same amount of time. And then we just called it a beach day. So did some snorkeling off a boat. Did some whale watching. Whales are amazing at this time of year. I think between December and maybe April, the whales, the humpback whales come down from Alaska, and they have their babies. Their calves, I guess, and they also hook up again. So it's like a big, let's go down to Maui and hang out and hook up. And so you see that happening where the male whales are chasing the female whales, and they're competing, and they're jumping out of the water, and they're doing their pectoral slaps, and they're high-fiving, and they're floating away because it's the end of the world, and it's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And there's just lots of things happening regarding whales. And if you see a whale, you're expecting to see that whale again. If you see a spout, there's two nostrils. I learned this on the top of their heads. It's just one hole, but it's two nostrils. So it's, and when you see that, it's like Chekhov's gun for the ocean. You're expecting the appearance of a whale sometime soon, and sure enough, they roll out, and it's amazing. We got to see them. You're supposed to stay 100 feet away. You're supposed to stay 10 feet away from the sea turtles. And we did see some sea turtles later, but like from way farther than 10 feet away, and we were on the beach. But if the whales swim into where you're at, you don't get to start your motor. You just have to wait till they leave. And fortunately for us, the whales swam into our area. So that was awesome. And we got to see them, and we shared addresses. They come down from Alaska, so I think we got their Maui address, so they may not be there, maybe for Christmas next year. I don't know. But anyway, they come down from Alaska. They don't eat all the way down. It takes them like a month to get here. And then they get up, they trim down, so they can get their groove on. They also have their babies there. So some of them are trimming down because they had their babies. And then I don't think they're getting their groove on after that. They take a break. They're busy being a mom. Then about April, they turn north and they swim all the way up to Alaska, hang out there all summer long, and then they'll come back on down. And they'll bring their calves with them. And then at that point, once they get back to Maui, you're on your own, kids, and mama's going wailing around. So that was all fun to see. It was cool. I'd never seen whales like that, and they're the humpback whale, humpback whale, and the humpback whales were getting a hump on. That was what's going on in Maui when we were there. All right, let's wrap this up here. What else did we do? We did go surfing, as I mentioned. We took some lessons for a couple of hours with the Surfer Girls. That's a business. It's a bunch of girls, ladies, females that teach you how to surf. They do a wonderful job. They're just amazing. And they just, you meet them on the beach. You sign up for it in advance like everything else that we did. And we met the Surfer Girls, and they taught our kids how to surf, and everybody got up. And Colin was probably the most at ease at surfing. Like, he was up right away and figured it out. And took Tate a little bit longer, Miranda a little bit longer, but Jack and Tanner and Kate and Miranda and Tate and everybody, they all did get up, and we got pictures of it to prove it. Here we are at Ukamahami Beach Park on a beautiful Hawaiian Thursday afternoon as the Thompson Ohana surfing competition is well underway. First to get up on the board and to stay on the board without falling off was Colin Thompson as a surprise. Did a good job there. Tanner Thompson's also gotten up, as has Jack Thompson. Saw Kate get up as well. Miranda does a good job riding on her knees, and then she did stand up for a moment and fell off immediately thereafter. And really the surprising disappointment so far has been the birthday boy himself on this second day of January. 30 years old today. Taylor Tate Thompson Esquire hasn't been able to stay up for very long. We'll see how this next round goes. So that was all fun. And so you can, if you're going to go, you might as well try to learn how to surf. I did not, but I get it. I think I get it. The Montage itself has a very good restaurant. We ate at the Cane and Canoe for Tate's birthday, and that was a lot of fun. And let me think. So what other amazing things? I think that I'll just wrap this up because who cares? It's like if I was showing slides and it was 1979, you'd be just as enthralled about hearing about somebody else's vacation. I love Hawaii. I think that it reminds us that the further removed from the struggle and beauty of nature, the further away one gets from God. I think Maui and Hawaii in general, that part of the world, so far away from the continental United States. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. Volcanic mountains, lush greenery. Some places are very dry. Just the beautiful ocean and the beaches and the harsh, craggy, volcanic rock and it's just amazing. And it is you should look skyward and give thanks to God for being able to just exist in this, on this planet, let alone that tiny little paradise. If that's what paradise is in heaven, I could see why that would be, minus the traffic. I could see how that could be. It's just wonderful weather, and just a beautiful, beautiful place. We should be very proud of the great state of Hawaii as a nation. It's our western border with the rest of the world, right there in the middle, all by itself, in the Pacific. And they are as American as we are, although there are some people, like I said, that think that they should be independent. And then they have their little Hawaiian independence flag that looks like a British flag. So, I mean, they could have picked their own flag. They could have picked something like colorful and rainbow or something Hawaiian, but instead they picked one that looked like the greatest colonial power of all time. Let's go with that one for Hawaiian independence. But look, you can't fix stupid. So there's it's an amazing, wonderful state. It has a very special place in my heart. We were singing and had in our heads the whole time Mele Kalikimaka, which after a while will drive you crazy. But I think we've heard every version of Mele Kalikimaka. Maybe not every version, but I will stand by this. Don Ho has the best version of Mele Kalikimaka, and he should, because he is a true island treasure. Lots of famous people live in Hawaii. Lots of famous people live on Maui. Oprah owns 1,000 acres over there, up on her top of the world palace or wherever she's at. But lots of other people do too. And Sammy Hagar, I'm not going to name them all. There's just a lot of people that have moved. Willie Nelson lives on Maui, for crying out loud. It's just a wonderful place. But it's too far away for me. Too far away for me to live there. I'm not going to pick up Sunnyside. That'd be pretty sweet, though. Pick up the whole ranch, slap it on a nice acreage in Maui. I'm sure it's the equal cost. Square up, trade even up. But from Iowa to Maui, wonderful time, wonderful place. 3,000 miles away. It's going to live in the memories of our children as a family. Thompson Ohana is happy to have been there. The people are friendly. They're grateful for the tourism. It's just a wonderful place, and blessed to have been there. And thankful that you let me, that you've listened this long to let me talk about my vacation. Go to Hawaii. Go to Maui. We think that's the best island. You can't really be fair judges, but that's what we think. Gave me some places that you can go and things that you could do. I think it's a wonderful place. And it's a great way, truly, to be the sunny side of somebody else's life. Send them to Hawaii. They'll have sun all the time. They'll have beautiful weather. They will really be appreciative. They'll be sad that they have to come back, but they'll have lots of Hawaiian shirts and Hawaiian gear to wear. And hopefully you will too if you go there. And if you've been, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been yet, I encourage you to do so. Well, until next week, friends, we'll talk about other things that have happened since the new year that has already been in the news. But as for now, that's where I've been. And I'm hanging up because I got to go make dinner. Plus, even though it's getting late, it kind of feels to me like it's just mid-afternoon. So who knows what'll happen next. Till the next time, here's an Iowa Aloha to you. I want to thank all our friends and guests for stopping by for this episode of the Sunnyside of Life. All the Sunnyside of Life players who stopped by, creative support provided every day by my incredible wife Heidi and our fantastic 4 boys. Thanks to every one of our listeners. That means you. A big shout out to my brothers and sisters in uniform holding the line around the world. Share the word, folks. Let the people know what we're up to. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us on social media. All skits are written or adapted and directed by me, Troy Thompson, and are produced here at Sunnyside Farm Studios and delivered to all platforms by Buzzsprout. Music and sound effects are provided by Soundstripe. The Sunnyside of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. Now, none of this is possible without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life, liberty and pursuits, be in Christ, and made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.